Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davis and you are watching Conversations in Pop Culture, brought to you by my sponsors, Mixum Printing, the smarter way to print. I know printing your creative project can be stressful and confusing, but Mixum is here to make it easy. From their instant quote calculator that lets you get as many quotes as you want for free to their 24-hour customer service support, Mixum is here to make sure your printing experience runs smoothly from start to finish. And right now you can choose from a range of premium printing options and materials. And the company has also printed so many successful Kickstarter campaigns, a bunch of them you even heard about on this very show. And right now they offer services in the United States, Canada, Australia, and the UK, and Mixum can print and reach audience anywhere in the world. So if you're ready to print smarter, not harder, head over to Mixum.com. And right now they're running a promotion where listeners of my show can drop my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab of a current order to get a 5% discount on their first order. So that is mixam.com. Again, type my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab to get a 5% discount on your first order. And also, I have BCW Supplies also sponsoring me, and you can use Pop Anime Comics to get 10% off your order. So whenever you need to get bags, boards, long boxes, protect your comics, cards, anything that is paper goods, get 10% off, and you could use Pop Anime Comics indefinitely on every single order to get that discount. And so without further ado, I have comic artist, cover artist, and colorist Claudia Ianniciello, and I hope I got that right. I hope I got that right.
Right.
So welcome to the show, because I am super excited to have
you. Hi everyone.
So obviously you've done a lot of stuff, and I think anybody who's been in comics and is a collector and has been watching Titan Comics knows sort of who you are. And you actually have a book that just dropped that's a big deal, and we're going to get to it, and I promise it's the Cowboy Bebop cover.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, and I am super curious, your journey into comics is beyond interesting. And so how did you get into comics? Because it's a little bit different than everybody else.
Yeah, I actually think that when I started to think to do a job related on the visual art and visual marketing and stuff like that, I didn't actually think about comics immediately. I mean, I knew that I do love drawing and painting, so I was more into illustration and stuff. But when I was younger, I had no idea what all this stuff was about. So I actually started to. I am a self-taught, but I also attended a school, and it was the Scuola Comics here in Rome. Yes, I'm Italian, so sorry for my pronunciation and bad English. Sorry, guys. But yes, I started to do this to attend this school, and in the meantime I was also at the university. So I also have a degree in architecture, and but I knew that it wasn't actually my thing, and yeah, I started this other. It was like like how can I say
it's like the Kubrick School in New Jersey, in which that it's very much like that, where you.
Okay. So yes, the Scuola Comics is very similar. I mean, it's just on focus on comic works and illustration and graphic and animation and stuff like that. And I started to attend this school with illustration course, and yeah, it was a 3-year courses, and at that time I always had in my mind, okay, I want to be an illustrator, so it's what I want to do. But then the school made a workshop, or not exactly a workshop, it was a master, maybe, yes, maybe it's better, a master, run by a colleague of mine, which is David Messina. and Ilaria Traversi, they were my teachers at the time, and it was about coloring. So actually, when I finished this master, I actually became the colorist of David Messina, and so basically I entered the comic world with color as a colorist with colors.
So let's talk a little bit about that before we get into coloring, because I love colorists. I don't speak to enough of them. And they make and break a book. They're extremely crucial to a book. Same thing with the letterer in a lot of ways. And I feel like colorists don't get enough attention. So we're going to talk about that, I promise. I want to pay respect to the people who actually make comics work in a lot of ways. But what was this like, really coming into a school, being self-taught, and then actually getting, you know, fair criticism and being taught different styles and being presented with, I guess, you know, assignments and really pushing and honing and fine-tuning your skills on both an illustration level and also, you know, sometimes when you're in class, and I'm the same way, where, you know, you're forced to evolve in a lot of ways and forced to grow. And,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite interesting because you know, I loved comics because I read a lot of comics when I was younger, especially in manga and Italian comics, and I had no idea when I started this master at school. I had no idea how much color is important on a comic page, because with colors it's you also own the storytelling. It's very important that with color, people must understand that colors are a part of the storytelling of the whole comic book. So it's a very important role on the, you know, on the team on a comic book. And usually, I actually remember when I started to work as a colorist, as a professional colorist, it was very, very hard to get, you know, the credit on the cover. So this is something that finally comic book and publishers in the world are started to put also the colorists and the credits on the main page, on the cover. When I was a colorist, when I used to work as a colorist, this was not present. I mean, there was no name. Just like, okay, yes, it's the color is something, a plus, but not important, and it's very frustrating in some way. That's actually what make me you know, leave a bit on my back this kind of job. I mean, I prefer to put myself on the work. So I wanted to put not only my color skill and my knowledge about colors, but also my style, I know um, my personality. I don't know how to say it, but yeah, I wanted to you know, to skip this job and get a new one that was the cover artist and illustrator, because it was the uh, my child dream.
You just want credit, is what you want.
Sorry?
You just want credit for your work.
Yeah, yes. I wanted a credit, and it was very hard to get it. So okay, if I want a credit, I have to change my job.
So we're going to talk about cover art in a second, and I have all these pictures, and it's going to be wonderful to talk about some of it. And I only have I think 1/10 of your entire career so far done. There's so much.
So you mean not so many years, but it's quite a few, yeah.
You've been doing cover art for about 6 years, I think.
Yes, from 2016, I guess.
And you legitimately have so many. And then when I'm doing my homework, and I'm getting slightly ahead, but when I was doing my homework and I was giving everybody a little taste, It's that I'm like, oh my God, this cover's not even known. And then you go in and type in on a bunch of comic websites and comic shops. I'm like, oh my God, like how many covers do you have?
Yeah. Yes,
It's a very,
quite a few.
but we're getting ahead of ourselves slightly because I do want to talk about coloring because you came in to coloring, I think, late 2008, early 2009.
Yes.
And
Yes.
obviously you got a master/a master course type thing in coloring, and then you were coloring a lot of books for like IDW, and I think you did some work for Titan and a variety of other things. And as I was sort of stating, colorists are underappreciated tremendously. I've had Sanju Navagun on, and I've had a few others on, and it is an art that a lot of people don't want to talk about and touch. I mean, you have people like J. Scott Campbell who don't want to color. You have people like Ebass who don't want to color. You have people like Paul Green who don't want to color, and it is a skill and it is complicated, to color books. And so what was this like coming in and then working for these big companies? I mean, IDW is not a small company.
No.
They do a lot of cool stuff. I mean, they got Turtles, they got Transformers, Ghostbusters. They got one of my favorite books, Canto, by David Boer. And so what was this like coming into these properties? And Titan Comics as well deals with a lot of stuff like that too, where they have licensed products. And so it's a big deal to be a colorist on those books. And it's a lot of trust, and it sort of came out of nowhere. No offense, like.
Yes, I mean, the most of the thing I done were about license works. I mean, I started with IDW with, I guess it was something related to the Buffy universe. It was like Angel, I remember something like that. And then I jumped on stuff like Star Trek, um, Ninja Turtles. I was very happy because I was a fan when I was younger. And
I know who you have to thank for your job, pretty much. I'm gonna drop a name, Chris Ryle.
yeah, Chris Ryan.
He hired everybody at IDW. It's such a great.
He was the IDW at the time. Yes, he was.
But continue. Sorry for interrupting. Continue, please.
So yeah, when you start to work on a licensed product is to respect the product. So the final word is always from the licensor. So you are what you need to do is to respect what they say and all the fixings maybe and notes, and they actually do a lot because
one of the things, just to catch everybody up, is that with licensing products, and we can use the Transformers as an example because I'm a huge Transformers
Star Trek, everything, it's
there's certain colors you cannot make Optimus Prime yellow. It is the way to put this really so that everybody gets it. Where Optimus Prime has to be red, he has to be white, he has to be blue. And when you're coloring a book, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's the idea that that affects, because if you want it to pop off the page, there's a certain background, you now have to figure out a different color for the background because you can't change the character's colors. And that's where coloring gets very interesting, because if it's your book, for instance, or it's not a licensed product, you can modify a character's colors.
Yes.
If it's licensed, you can't unless there's a variant. For instance, G.I. Joe, there's 15 variants of the action figures. So technically speaking, you could have Snake Eyes in a white costume and a black costume if you really wanted to, depending on what Snake Eyes is doing. That's just a good example of it. But sorry for interrupting. Again.
No, you're right. I mean, the difficulty is actually this one, because when you have to respect all the colors of the characters, I mean, you're not actually free to use colors when you're but at the same time you have to keep in mind that the colors, as I said before, it's a storytelling point on the comic book, so you have to do, it's an equilibrium, between the storytelling made by drawing and panels and colors. And sometimes it may happen that maybe you use, I don't know, if you need a particular atmosphere or a particular mood, maybe the color may change. If you said, I can do, if a character has a red color on the costume and you use maybe blue atmosphere, the colors may change, may shift on a purple or a deeper red. It depends on the color you use. So sometimes the notes may be, okay, no, you can actually see the red because maybe, the license work is on toys or animations, and the colors are pretty much that one, so that they didn't change. They are not, it's not realistic as a coloring. Instead, when you actually do a comic book, maybe the style of the comic book artist, it's more realistic than the actual licensed work. So you have to adapt the colors to the style, and that's the most difficult thing. It's quite difficult to color licensed stuff, actually. Yes. I remember it was very hard. And another thing was that actually I remember the deadlines and time to do it was crazy, really crazy. I remember I colored something like 22 pages in 5 days, like not sleep at all.
Explain that a little bit, because it's something that I think people don't understand, is that drawing a book is one thing. Obviously, writing the book happens. Then sometimes a writer does 3 pages, and he hands it to the artist, and he's hands it over, and it becomes very much a shop. And then you get the pages at some point from the artist. And then obviously, it's sort of a production line, but
exactly.
how it's typically supposed to work, where
and usually there's the writer, then the editor that
he's facilitating
the pyramid. Imagine as a pyramid where the editor, the writer, the comic book artist, the colorist, and also the
letter.
Sorry.
The letters in there as well.
Yes. Or people put also, the graphic and sound and stuff like that. I don't know if it's the letter or another role. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure either.
Yes, because sometimes could be the same person, sometimes not. It depends on the publisher, actually. And the thing is this one. There's the writer that has the script, then the editor should do his work to edit.
Well, pretty much what happens.
Once it's edited, the all the script goes to the comic book artist. The comic book artist start to draw. So there's the layout stage, and then they come back to the editor that can approve or not the layouts. Then the pencil stage and the ink stage. And the final stage are the colors and letters. And actually, they actually can work together, because to put balloons and stuff, you can do it also on black and white page. And in the meanwhile, the colorist put colors on pages. but the color stages and the letter stage are the last one. So we actually get all the, if someone got delays and it's late on something, we actually gather all their delays. So we have to
When that happens,
to get the page done. Sorry?
so when that happens, because sometimes, people get 3 pages to you, when you're coloring a book, or anybody's coloring a book, and sometimes it's just an easy, steady workflow, and you're not dying,
Yeah,
where,
yeah.
but
Sometimes you can, if you have a good relationship with the comic book artist, you can, agree with them and say, okay, once you got the page done, in the meanwhile, send it to me. I start coloring, even if maybe they may be changes or some notes and stuff to change. But I start in the meanwhile, because I don't have to run too much, even if I'm running for sure. But I don't have to run too much later. And then, but this happens when when the comic book artist can choose the colorist himself or herself, and in this case, maybe there, if you know who's gonna color your pages, it's easier. But sometimes it happens that the comic book artist doesn't know the colorist, and vice versa. So it depends
these
a
things
lot.
happen.
I was lucky because all the coloring stuff I made, I always do work with people I already knew, I trust, and stuff like that. I work for David Messina, Valerio Schiti, with one of the most famous artists on Marvel. So it's I was very lucky actually, because I knew them all. They live in the same the same city where I live, so we are friends. We meet each other, so it's. But I know it's not. This is not the rule. I mean, it's just me or in a few ones.
It's weird where colorists have certain relationships. Like Sanju Navagun has a very good relationship with Zenescope, and they trust him enough where Sanju is almost exclusive to Zenescope, which is crazy. He
Yeah, yeah,
has legitimately, I had him on, and I went through his comic vine thing, which is, I think, about 80% of his work, which is even crazier. And they just give him work, and it's awesome. And it's one of those things that he has a almost exclusive relationship. Ulla Moss doesn't have a exclusive relationship with Zenescope, but she has a very good relationship with them too. And they just give her work with people like Paul Green and a variety of other people. She does work for, I think she does almost all of Ebas's coloring. She does all of Campbell's coloring with Neon, Rafino, and I think she does Mike the Baffo's coloring as well.
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
it's very, very interesting with people's relationships. But there's also, on the flip side, we go to DC and Marvel. I guarantee you there are artists who hate colorists, and
uh,
Marvel's just like, well, we like the way this person colors because they're good and they're effective and they get the job done, and we don't really care because we trust the colorist isn't going to screw up the book, and
yes,
because and it's tricky and it's very, very important,
yeah. I,
is
I think that actually that there's something good when you can actually have a kind of relationship with your other team, because you can actually speak without filters. You can actually um, um, work in a better way in some way, because I noticed that a lot of comic book pages got the colors which are not, in my opinion, obviously, so, but they are not exactly right for the style of the penciler, and I think it's because the penciler, actually the comic book artist, can choose the colorist itself. I mean, if you have someone who you like how he or her colors your pages, I think it's the best you can really achieve for a comic book. But sometimes, especially for majors and big publishers, comic book artists don't have this. It's a privilege in
It's very much a privilege. It is not a right. In a lot of ways to do that, and it's very interesting when people have that privilege and people don't. You know, obviously, very few people. Like I think Campbell almost exclusively uses Ulla Moss or Nia or Fino. I think he's might have used somebody else every once in a while, but it's rare to find a Campbell book that is not an Ulla Moss or a Nia book. It is rare, and those books are super cool to find, and they're not even necessarily valuable. They're just really cool to find. I think it was like a Bones mashup with Campbell that was not done. That was partially done by Campbell. That is not done by Ulla or Nia. It's not even that expensive of a book. I think I could be mistaken, but I digress. It's so interesting all this, and obviously I understand colorists, and because I can't do it, I can't draw. I'm not content here. I am not talented in that fashion. And I know the difference between a good colored book and a bad colored book. And I also understand the difference between capturing like a neon glow in a comic versus a dull book. And it can make or break it. Like I'm a big Cyberpunk fan and I appreciate the game. And I could tell when somebody's doing a Cyberpunk comic that doesn't have that Cyberpunk-esque position. Yeah. And if you don't have that neon glow and all like the cool stuff in it, you know, it doesn't work. And I don't even know how to do that.
It's all about storytelling. It's all about storytelling.
I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to create those colors. I don't. I'm not even going to attempt. And I just admit defeat on that point. But, you know, it's all right. It's all right. I'll take the L on it, everybody. I'll take the L. So obviously going beyond coloring, though, you then have become a cover artist. Yeah. And that is super interesting because I don't know anybody who is a colorist, has done a lot of coloring work that has then become almost exclusively a comic artist and a cover artist. So how did that come about and how did that opportunity come about? Because that is so interesting to me.
I think that probably former colorists were actually just like me. I mean, they started to as another with another role. I mean, maybe they were illustrator, maybe they were something else before being a colorist.
So I've known people who have gone from illustrating to becoming exclusive cover. Yeah.
That's because
who's done coloring and has skipped the illustration stage in a comic interiors and then has gone straight to covers because obviously Ebash used to do interiors and a few other people who I've interviewed have done interiors. But I know a lot of people, and some people still do interiors and they do some cover work. But at the same time, I don't know anybody who sort of has never done interiors. I don't know if you've done, I think you might have done a little bit of interiors.
I have done some interiors too. I have
very little.
Are actually not published yet, so I have something for the future. But yeah, to answer the question, as I said, maybe former colorists were illustrator before because the colorist job was not. It's something very new actually because comic book. Actually,
people used to be a lot more work harding, and now people are lazy, and that's why they need colorists, right?
Yeah.
Joking aside, obviously, I think what it used to be is that people used to produce an entire book themselves.
Yeah, indeed. And once I think that the very first comic books, I mean, also Marvel and DC Comics, the colors were just printed. There were no someone, because there were no computers to do that. So, or some people maybe some colorists do it traditionally, so they actually paint the pages with the traditional media. No?
I see does it with Copic marker.
Yes. There's some people or
that's crazy to me. That is a hard skill in of itself.
It's very hard because when you actually color comic pages with traditional media, it's very difficult if you get maybe notes or changes, because you have to change, maybe to redo the whole panel. Instead, when you color with Photoshop or any other graphic software, you actually can. It's easier to get all the fixings and modification you want to do on the pages. But yes, I think that in this moment, actually, I am also a teacher, so. I have some students that want to do colors on a comic book, and it's now it's something. Okay, it's colors. It's actually a job. It seems that just a few years ago, it was not actually a job. I mean, as I said before, we didn't have any credit on the cover, so it's like, okay, yes.
So to even go further into this, because now I don't want to say you're out not doing colors anymore, but you're doing a lot of cover art, and your first stuff.
I started as a cover artist because of colors, because I actually it was.
So how did all this come about? Because it's so interesting. Because your first book that you did was Doctor Who, which is even more crazier.
Exactly. It was Doctor Who, because I was at the time I was the colorist of a friend of mine who is a comic book artist, which is she's Eleonora Carlini. She works for DC and Marvel at the time, actually, in this moment. And I was a colorist, and but I started to feel like it wasn't for me anymore. So the fact I was in the team, so I speak with the editor and stuff. I just say to the editor. I don't want to be a colorist anymore. My willing is to do covers and be an illustrator, a full-time illustrator. And I sent them my portfolio and said, okay, if you need maybe some covers, I'm available. So write me back. And that's what actually happened. Yeah, they asked me for a couple of covers. They were my first covers for Doctor Who.
We're going to get into it, I promise, because I got pictures, everybody, because it's 1,000 words, and I already speak too much. So clearly, but I am curious before we get into that, because we're going to go through a bunch of covers now. And I am curious because what was this like, really getting that yes to do a cover, because it is a big deal and it is now a very respectable element in comics, and it is relatively new because I'm obviously a variant guy. I appreciate different covers. I like cover A, but I love covers B, C's, D's, E's, F's, and so on, because I'm looking for something different. I'm looking for different style. I'm looking for something that's more fun or that's more limited, for instance. And then even going further, what is it even like to now say, oh man, I am on a book and I am credited, and that you're in previews, or you go into previews on a major comic site and your name's there because it's cover C, and then you see your last name, because that's something cool too. And now I'm starting to pop up, and I was looking on Midtown Comics, and I'm like, oh snap, your name's all over this place, and there's like 7 months worth of stuff coming out with your name on it. It's kind of weird, I would imagine, a little bit. So I'm very curious about what was that like when you got it offered the first time, and now even moving forward when you see it, because you have at least 1 or 2 covers every single month out.
Yes. For sure, when I started to do covers, it was for Titan Comics. And yes, it
Still
was weird
doing work
because
for
I
them.
started
You're
with,
still doing work for them.
sorry.
You're still doing work for Titan.
Yes, but not only for them, because when I started actually to do covers, I started with that too, and then they started to ask me covers for a lot of their comics books, which are not Titan Comics is pretty much similar to what to IDW, because they have a lot of licensed comic books, and but not only licensed work. So they started to ask me a lot of covers, and I was very happy, because it was my as I said, my dream job. So I was very happy that they keep on asking me for covers. So I was very happy to stay on Doctor Who products and comics, because I am a Whovian myself. So I was very happy, and I keep on working on Doctor Who. Lately, I'm not working. Um, uh, I mean, not on a monthly basis, let's say that, on Doctor Who. But I don't know. Actually, a lot of editors changed it on Titan, so it's also um, if you used to work with someone who left, maybe you start to lose a bit of context with the publisher. So yeah, I did really a lot of stuff with Titan Comics. Mostly of I think I have like 20 or maybe more than 20 covers for Doctor Who. I don't know.
So let's talk about some of them, because I like pictures, and pictures are fun. So this is, I think, one of your first ones that you did.
Yeah. This
And
was fun.
what's the story behind this one? Because this is early Doctor Who stuff.
Yes, I I had I was asked to do a bunch of covers for the Third Doctor, and for me it was okay. That's difficult because I am Hovian. Okay, it's not for sure, but I mean, not of the very old stuff, because it wasn't available in my country to get the old Doctor Who episodes. So I have no idea about all the old stuff. I mean, I started to watch Doctor Who from the Ninth Doctor, so I wasn't. I was aware.
I promise. Working our
Yeah,
way. I promise.
I knew that the whole Doctors, but I never watched any episode. I didn't know anything about them. So I had to do a bit of research, and at some point I found some interesting. I think they were some photo or some set pics. I don't know, and there were some photos where there was the actor. I can't remember the name in this moment. Who was the third Doctor actor's name? I can't remember in this moment. So I find that this pics was very interesting, and I tried to put myself into it, just not reproducing a photo. And when actually when I'm when Titan asked me to do Doctor Who covers, they were very generic. Uh, they were not always specific on what actually happened inside the comic, the issue, and what happens in the pages. Okay, they want just very generic covers, so I have to invent something every time to to do something different every time. So indeed, I made also other two of the Third Doctor, and the other two are a series of covers. But I don't know if they use the picture for the covers, or just sometimes they put them on a sort of gallery inside the issues. So maybe you can find them inside some comic book. I don't know.
And even to go further into Doctor Who, because there's a bunch of other covers that I do want to show. So there's this one right here.
Yes, this is one of the first ones. Oh my God, I can watch that.
Yeah, so we'll take it down. There we go. So this is another one.
This was the first one ever. This one, the first one.
Because I like this one a lot, and which this one is a lot of fun, and this one to me is definitely sort of one of those fun, one. It's obviously the 10th Doctor, so it's a lot more modern than the Third Doctor, and it just seems like more fun. And I'm not a big Doctor Who fan. I know it's blasphemy. I'll deal with it. But it's the idea that this is fun, and it's kind of something that's different as well, where it's not as formal. It's not as, I feel like it's saying, hey, this is Doctor Who. This is sort of supernatural aspect that we're going with. And that's what Doctor Who is supposed to be, from my understanding. So what was like the story behind this, and really just having a good time?
As I said before, they ask very generic stuff. They say, okay, I need 10 Doctor cover. Can you put some ideas on paper and send us? And they choose. So I made like a few layouts of different ideas, and they choose this one. And I was, since it's a as I say, generic cover. What I wanted to show it's the sense of wonder of Doctor Who. So I tried to put this kind of mood on the cover. Obviously, in the comic book, all the companions, all the Doctor companions are not real actors in real life. They create the companions just for the comic book. And so I had to also the challenge, if you want to call it that way, in this cover was to match not real person with a real person, because it's David Tennant, and I have to put close to him as someone who looks actually realistic as much as the real actor. So this was the challenge on this cover. But the idea was just the sense of wonder. I really like when I do some covers to get the all the people who watch my cover, who see my covers, to just imagine what can happen outside the cover. So you can imagine what they are about, to the adventure they are going to start, and stuff like that.
And then even diving further, it's just another one that's got that, and it's almost like a photo.
So weird.
What, you don't like your own work?
No. These colors are weird because I see them very very saturated and very bold. I think that there's actually a problem sometimes when they put the previews of the cover. They put the print previews, which has another color profile, which is not RGB, and so that's why you see these weird colors. But okay, it's just me. I'm a nerd about colors.
So I like this cover because it's just like different, and it's striking to me that it would make me stop and look at it in a comic shop. And that's what I think covers are supposed to do to some degree, is make me stop. And so that's why I like this cover, and I think it's just something that's different. And then
if I hit the point.
And then obviously we got this going on, which is
this was one of the first ones too. Yes, obviously, you know, when I started to do comic book Doctor Who covers, there were the Ninth Doctor, 10th Doctor, 11th Doctor, and I think it was at the time that the 12th Doctor was about to be on air. I think they started to the last season was the last season at that time, and so I had to work on different doctors, and actually I would say that David Tennant is the most difficult one to draw. Also Matt Smith, and the most funny to do it's actually Peter Capaldi because
I love the way you drew that woman in this.
thank you.
Like, I love the way you drew her, and nothing against Doctor Who and David Tennant, but I don't find David Tennant as Doctor Who, as far as comic books, to be all that interesting as a comic character. But that girl's interesting, and how she's sort of being seductive, and just her tonality and her skin tone, and just what she's wearing, and her posture. It's very inviting in, and then obviously the background too. It's also it's a fun cover. I actually might go on eBay and buy it.
I actually made with the same background. I made a series of covers for Doctor Who with different doctors. One of the first one it was with the 11th with the same background, and one with 12 with the same background.
Because I just kind of like the girl in this, and I think it's very, very fun to do that, because that's where my eye draws, and we know where my mind is now. So clearly, my mind thinks a certain way, and it's no secret to my audience. So they know exactly what I draw too. It's not good. It's not good. I'm the first person to admit it. And then even going further into Doctor Who, obviously this cover is kind of,
this one, another one. There is another one with the with characters flipped. I mean, with the third Doctor as a big face on background, and the companion as on foreground with a comic style. This was very funny to do because I tried to mix two different styles on the same cover. Was using a painted and a more realistic style for the background, and a comic style for the foreground character, just because I wanted to recall the 70s. Also the color palette recalls the 70s, and because it was the years when this Doctor was the Doctor, so so it was very. I really, when I have when I have a generic stuff to do, I always want to play with the other stuff than also not only with the with the characters, but maybe try to find other inspiration to get the cover done. I mean, I think that's the only way I can also enjoy doing it. If not, it's gonna be quite boring just doing just.
and it's also nice, because it's nice to have different covers and different styles thrown in there. And it's kind of cool that with Titan and with Doctor Who, they've given you a lot of freedom to do a bunch of different covers. Because as a fan of comics, and I think I picked up like 2 or 3 Doctor Who books over the years, but it's the idea that even when I'm looking at cover artwork, I'm like, hey, I want something different. I want something that is a little out there, and I want something that mixes it up, because, well, I go through a comic shop, what's going to catch my eye? And that to me is very important. And I want to show these last 2 Doctor Who books. And so this one right here, which is kind of a crazy fun one, and obviously we have both images side by side, and this is fun, and what's going on with that, and that, and then this one is also fun too, and this is the 11th Doctor, and so that's kind of cool in its own right as well. And so What was it like really building out these covers? Because especially this last one is a lot of fun. What's going on with it?
Yeah, I had this one in particular, this 11th one.
Yeah.
Um, as I said before, for this one I was like, okay, I have to do a cover for the 11th Doctor. I don't know what's happening actually in the story inside the book. But what I think it's more interesting about Doctor Who, it's actually that every story, every episode was very, weird and fun in some way. So I wanted to, and the 11th Doctor was maybe more into the, you know. More for I think the target was more maybe younger people than the other Doctor Who episode, even if it's obviously something for it was born for children. I mean, so but the thing was that yeah, I think that the 11th Doctor maybe is more the one of the most um, funny doctors. So I wanted to that actually that cover I liked also to put titles on my covers, and this one is called the last call because I put the telephone, and I don't know, I think I imagine him to be in a point that he can just save himself by calling and using that telephone. So it was, I don't know. I
No,
had fun. I had
I
fun.
love it. I think it's fun. And I think that's the thing about comics. And some of your covers and the earlier stuff, some of it is somewhat generic, but I think that the later covers that you've done are a lot more fun. And I think that they're more
Yeah,
eye. And I think it's very cool.
it's because at some point I can, when you always been asked to be generic and just paint the characters because it was the most important thing that on a cover to have the main character on the cover. You have to, find other inspiration, other stuff to do something. And yeah, I just had fun, and I like the actually to give the all the the audience actually to choose what is actually happening on the cover, so you can think whatever you want about the cover, as long as you like it. It can be anything, and I think it's the most funny thing and beautiful thing about illustration and cover artworks. It's like you have to catch the audience with something, and at the same time, um, tell a story about the character, respecting in this case also the license and the product. I obviously, if I been asked to um, do a cover for Doctor Who, and I have to paint 12. I can paint any other doctors. I have to do 12 doctors, so I have to respect that doctor. So that's it, and
And
very
even
challenging, but it's also very I don't know. It's very satisfying in some way.
and obviously, I mean, it's Doctor Who, and people love Doctor Who. One of my best friends is a huge Doctor Who fan,
Yeah,
and
okay.
so people love Doctor Who. I don't know much about Doctor Who. It's just something that just I never got into. But obviously, it is a big deal to work on it, and
Hmm.
so it's very cool because it's very influential. I think when people and you're doing covers for it, and obviously being a fan of it is very cool as well.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that's just one of those things that's just kind of cool in comics that happened.
I see.
I didn't get to I think there's another 30 covers you've done with Doctor Who that I didn't even show. So obviously these are just some of the books that you've done with Doctor Who. But I do want to jump into another bunch of books that you've done that are also, I
Hmm.
think, just as cool. And that's the Millennium Saga, which is like the girl and the dragon tattoo and everything that happened with those books and the comic book adaptations, because you've done a bunch of stuff with that, and that's a whole different ball game with Hard Crime, which is, I think, I'm not sure what the full deal with Hard Crime and Titan is, but those books are published by Titan, and they're doing really cool stuff with Gun Honey right now. And so, what was this like coming into that? Because that's another big deal in a lot of ways. And this is one of the covers with it. The Girl Who Played with Fire. And might be showing these somewhat out of order here, but it's kind of a big deal when, you know, obviously this is the Girl in the Dragon Tattoo that you've done. Obviously the girl who danced with death.
Yes.
You know, another one I think that you've done. And then, yeah, so what was this like really doing these books? Because this series is well respected and people love it.
Yes, this was very interesting to do because the first issues were from already published comic. I think it was in French, in France, and it was the Millennium book Saga, which was the comic book for the novel. Basically, it was that product. But when Titan buy the license to do comics in UK of Millennium Saga, they wanted to redo all the covers, which is something they usually do when they buy comics from other countries or other authors and stuff. When something is new on a country, they try to remake all some of the stuff, and usually they do this with covers. They used to redo the covers. So I was very happy to do the Millennium Saga cover, even if I never ever read the novels.
Because there's a lot of clout going with this, because obviously you were doing Doctor Who, and then you're coming into doing these things, and obviously this book, and these books are well known. I think Steg, and I can't think of his last name, who passed away too soon, and that made the book even more popular in a lot of ways. And so now you have a very popular book that has a comic book that people really enjoyed, and then naturally like, hey, how's the comic adaptation going to go? And so it's a lot of clout and a lot of trust, I think, is being portrayed by Titan to you to say, hey, we want you to do a cover. And it goes a long way in a lot of ways, because this can make or break it and set the tone in a lot of ways, a cover. And so what was that like, really building that out and having that on your shoulder to some degree? Or did it not even occur? Because, you know, I think a little differently than everybody else, but I'm looking into the window versus looking out the window. The window or there. All jokes aside, though, the question still stands.
Oh, sorry, I think I didn't get the joke. Sorry.
Oh, I was saying I'm looking into the window, so I'm observing, and I pointed to a window right there as a joke. Purposely because we were talking about windows, and there's a window in my background. So I'm sorry. It was.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't get the joke of the window. Sorry.
Oh no, it's all good. It's all good. It was a bad joke. It wasn't a great joke. So I'll yell on it. But I am curious though about the whole thing with even just all that going on, because now that it is a very interesting position to be in, because there's a lot of trust being given to you when you were doing these stuff.
Yes, indeed. I was. I mean, the Millennium Saga is something very new. It's popular. It's loved, but it's a kind of different licensing, because it's based on a novel. So you don't have you have the description of characters, to get the mood, you have to read. Obviously, there were some movies about the novel too, but the adaptation, the comic adaptation, was from the novel themselves. So nothing to do with the movies. Both the I don't think the first one was the Swedish, and the other one was American. I don't know actually, but yeah, what I have to do is to respect the character and the mood of the novel, but I have to get my own version of Lisbeth Salander. So it was very challenging, but very funny, even because she's a dark lady. So I love painting dark ladies. Some way, something um, very dear to me. As I, when I was younger, I used to be a dark lady too, in some way. Not that much, but it's okay. I tried at least, and yeah, it was very interesting to do these kind of covers, even because there another it was another level, another whole thing. Uh, Compared to the Doctor Who and other covers.
And in a lot of ways, obviously, I don't think your legacy needs to be built from Doctor Who, but obviously getting the Doctor Who position and then doing, because we didn't mention Sherlock Holmes that you did as well, and then even going further now, you're doing the Millennium Saga. All of a sudden, you're really building out a name that you can deliver big projects.
Yeah.
Do a good job, have good covers that sort of sell, and that sort of is something that you're building out a name in a lot of ways, and you're building out a lot of trust, and then you really get into really cool projects. And even coming out of this, and I don't know if this came first or second, but you have to do some Assassin Creed stuff, and I'm not too sure if this was a cover or if this was just fan art, but this book was awesome.
Actually not. I made this as a cover. I mean, they asked me to do a cover for Assassin's Creed, but they did. In the end, I think they didn't use it as a cover. But you can find the same picture inside one of the comic book. I don't know which one. I actually discovered this thing some years later, actually, because I never received my copies and stuff. So
I really like this.
Yes. I had a lot of fun. I was a bit disappointed they didn't use as a cover.
I think they made a mistake, but we'll just play nice today with that one. But I know they used this one, and this one was great paperback also, which is super cool. And so, what was that like coming into Assassin's Creed? Because that's another big project and a big property. And I'd make the argument it's just as big as Doctor Who, if not bigger. And
but probably bigger. I don't know. No, I don't. I can say that. I don't know, but it's actually very big. I mean, Assassin's Creed. There's a lot of. Is a huge fandom.
I know this.
I am playing.
I know this one. I know Assassin's Creed. I know this one. Valhalla was a fun game. I'm just saying. I bought it on day one. Guys. It was a fun game.
I didn't play this Valhalla.
No, you're not supposed to tell anybody that. How many times do we have to go through this? You're supposed to say, I played every one of them. That's the official response.
Okay. No, I remember I used to watch some gameplay on YouTube because I didn't have any any console, any play. I didn't know nor PlayStation or Xbox back in the days. So, but I really loved the idea behind the game. So I used to watch some gameplay and some playthrough. YouTube. I remember YouTube. It was YouTube, and when I finally get my hands on a PlayStation 4, it was one of the game I bought first. It was the Assassin's Creed Origins, which I really enjoyed, and the Odyssey 2. I missed the Valhalla one yet, but I have it in my collection. I just haven't never played it. yet, actually. And when I was very happy when they asked me to do a cover for Origins, because I played the game, I love the game, and yes, they asked me actually to do a cover specifically on Cleopatra, and it was this cover is special in some way because I did it actually traditionally. I mean, this is acrylics and colored pencil on toned paper, and yeah, I had a lot of fun. This one actually recall a painting of Leyendecker, and which is one of my most inspirational artist. So it's great. I love Ryan Decker. And
one of the
yeah.
cool things about this cover is that you snuck your name in there a little bit.
Sorry, I
You
didn't.
snuck your name in a little bit into it.
No, I didn't get it. Sorry.
No. You snuck your name into it a little bit. As you can see, the CLAU right next and somewhat behind the girl on the cover.
On the cover, the name. The name of, you mean the hieroglyphics ones?
So right behind her and in between, like I guess her staff, you see the CLAU. And you snuck your name sort of in there, which is kind of fun.
Yeah. Okay. The watermark, you mean the watermark? Yes. No. This was the watermark was digital. No, you can find it on the traditional piece. No.
I didn't know if you snuck it in there.
I have my name on the cover. No,
that would have been great if you did, because I know people who do that, and it's brilliant what they do. But even still, going into all this, because obviously Assassin's Creed, that's another big project that you got to work on, and it adds just to what you've done, and even just to be part of it for 1 or 2 or 3 covers, it's a big deal and it's a big license, and obviously in a lot of ways.
I just wish they ask me for more covers. Actually, Titan Comics also has Horizon Zero Dawn comic book license, and I never had a chance to do covers for Horizon because it's another title I really loved to play.
They have another one too, I think, right? Beyond just Horizons, they have another one, I believe, as well. Because Titan has a few video game titles that they have licensed too, and it's kind of cool.
I don't. They have also oh my god, I can remember the title in this moment. It was an indie game or something like that. Maybe.
Yeah, War Dogs, maybe. They had something like that. I think.
They also have Warhammer stuff, also comics on Warhammer.
They might have Warhammer too. I'm not exactly sure because I know Titan has a lot of good licensing, like Robotech.
Yeah, they have quite a lot of video game stuff, a lot. But I can't remember everyone. I remember Horizon because I never had the chance to do a cover for Horizon. I was like,
And obviously, I mean, I'm just waiting for you to do a Robotech cover when Robotech comes back.
Yes.
That's just one of the things that, once you get that in there, I'm excited to see what you can do with a Robotech. I'm rooting for you for a Lynn Min-May cover.
Just one for Robotech.
I'm waiting for them to bring back the swimsuit edition. That's what I want. That's all I want from Titan. Eclipse did it, and if Titan did it, I think they would sell out of so many books so quickly that they would have to go into a second and third print run despite a printing shortage. I'm just saying, bring back the swimsuit edition and, up it up and equal offender. And, it makes so much money for Titan. It'd be great. I'm rooting for it. And if I have to go and become an executive in Titan Comics to go do that, that'll be my first act and my first order. But if I do it, I'm just going to let everybody know right here, right now, there will be men and women in the swimsuit edition. I'm an equal offender of all.
Okay.
But I digress right there. I digress because I want to talk about the final thing, which came out today and is in comic shops right now, and that's Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
And so obviously, Cowboy Bebop is a big deal. There are 8 regular covers right now. Then there is another 3 that I know of, and then there is by I think Frankie Comics has one, and then I think there's 2 others that have some, and I'm sure more are going to pop up just because it's the nature of the way things go. And then there's a 1 in 50 foil cover, and then there's a 1 in 25 foil cover I think as well, that's out there. So ratios, and I'm not going to go through explaining ratios for everybody, and they're the art gem covers. So how did you get into this project? Because this isn't not just a big deal. This is like the holy grail, right? This is the last big comic.
Yeah. As I said before, I didn't get any chance to work on Horizon, and I was like very disappointed about that. But then I get a mail for the Cowboy Bebop series. Always.
How does that work? How does this work? Let me ask it a different way. So do you just be like, hey, Claudia, you interested in doing cover C Cowboy Bebop? Yes, no, just let us know. It's like nonchalant, or it's like, we have a contract for you for 4 covers.
No,
you want it? Like,
it's more the first question is, okay, do you fancy some covers for Cowboy Bebop?
Do you have some free time? Like,
do you want it? And then we, yes, obviously, I got also the contract, because they asked me not just one cover, but a whole bunch of cover. And yeah, it was special because Cowboy Bebop was one of the first anime series I really loved. And when I was younger, I remember here in Italy, it was aired by MTV. We can watch it on MTV, actually. So it was special, really special to me. I was um, kind of happy and scared at the same time when they announced the Netflix series. And then I got the mail about the covers. I had no idea that Titan got the license for Titan Comics, so therefore Cowboy Bebop. So I had no idea. I was very happy because I actually never asked to do that cover. They actually asked me to do covers of Cowboy Bebop. So I was like, oh my God, it's really happening. And yes, when they asked me for the covers, they say that they want something that was obviously for the Netflix series, but also to recall the anime in some way. And the first moment, I didn't actually get how much I have to put up the Netflix series. Then they send me, when they send me all the reference, and I have a lot of, the some PDF and JPEGs and of screenshot of the set. So I watched them for the very first time. I was a privileged one to see all the stuff was going on the set before anyone else. So I was very happy.
I'm very curious about this because obviously the comic is based off of the Netflix series.
I think it's a prequel. Should be a prequel of the Netflix series. Yes.
And then yesterday, the novel that's also a prequel came out. That was written by, I think, one of the staff writers for the Netflix show. So obviously, a lot of stuff's coming out. I'm pretty sure we're getting a season 2.
Oh yeah.
I know the comic is canon as far as the Netflix series goes. So one of the things is that, how much direction did you have with, these covers? Because obviously Titan has booked over, 10 of these covers, and these covers, obviously there's a photo cover, there's the blank covers, which are cool, which are I think green, blue, yellow, and red, which is awesome in its own right, and it's such a good concept. What they did with that, because that's the opening colors of Cowboy Bebop. And then even going further, obviously you have your stuff, and then other people have their stuff, and so what was that like? Because obviously, how much information did you have, and even just to coordinate it, because Titan doesn't want to produce a bunch of covers that are all the same, and so what was that like? And even just them saying, hey, this is what we want, but also here's some freedom to do certain things.
Let's say that when I say yes to the to the cowboy gig, I was like, okay, so what I want to show on the covers. They actually ask one cover for each character of the Netflix series. So we have there is a character missing comparing to the anime. It's like we have the dog, but we don't have the head character. It's like I actually also started to watch the series on Netflix, so I am around the sixth episode, I think. And there was one episode when they say that there is this head hacker that telling them about some of these criminals they try to catch. And so I have the characters I have to put on each cover. There's also one surprise on these covers.
So this is the one that's out today.
Yeah. This is the first one. It's about Spike Spiegel, obviously, which is the main character.
And then this is cover 2.
Yes, for this Faye Valentine. The colors are quite dark. I don't know. I think it's the same problem I told you before. They put the CMYK vision and then the RGB, so it's the colors are a bit weird. But yeah, the second one is Faye. And we have also the third one, which is Jet and the Iron. And if you see, I don't know if you noticed already, but if you see, you can actually see a link on each cover. And actually, what they asked me to do was to make something that you can actually put all the covers all together and get a whole picture, a whole poster. And I was very, very happy because there's something happening in every cover. Every character has something to have something to do, something to show, and every character has his own attitude and
you could see it really well with obviously this cover and this cover. You could see they connect and that the backgrounds connect. And I'm not too sure what's going on with that random hand lighting his cig per se, but we see it definitely with this, and we even see it with Jet and Faye, where obviously they're connecting, and it is very cool. And then there's some words going on in the back, and
that's I can say there are 5 covers, and every cover has a different character. So, and they are all connected. So it's up to you to guess who that hand is.
Because it says "See you in space."
See you in space.
So far, and
you mean no? It's you, Space Cowboys.
So we were not up to that. We only have 3 covers. I'm only going by what's red. Like, clearly, I'm not getting ahead of ourselves.
It's actually a spoiler, but I put "See you, Space Cowboys."
I'm just saying, because I don't know what I can and can't spoil. I mean, all I know is that I could show issues 1, 2, and 3 because they're out. That's the only reason why I could show this. Issue 4 is not even up for pre-order yet.
Yeah.
So it's not in previews because I checked this morning.
I got the last 2 covers approved a few days ago. So yes, I think they're going to to put them on previews very soon.
I think they're going to go up in previews in about a week or two.
Yeah.
Is usually how it goes. 'Cause I just order my comics 2.5 months in advance because it's cheaper, and I know I didn't miss it, but you can still order issue 3 for previews if everybody's interested. And also, there's a few comic shops that I know that have an abundance of these Cowboy Bebop stuff, and you can get all 8 covers. While you're going to be paying cover price, if you missed the boat and people are watching this both live and on replay, one of the things that is very important is that if you type in comic shops, you can go pick up this. Also, people are selling it relatively cheap on eBay for a whole set, and then some right now. So if you missed it and you were sort of sleeping at the wheel, you know, it's a good time to sort of pick up these books because you can pick them up, and obviously there's a lot of stuff going on with this. And so what is this like for you, though? Because obviously Cowboy Bebop is done really well on Netflix. You know, there's a lot of skepticism about it. And well, I think a lot of people are enjoying what Netflix has done with it. Is Netflix perfect with the series? No, but they've also made it their own. And obviously this is definitely playing to that and what's going on with that. And then it's also the anime is very well respected, and there's a lot of things behind this, and Titan is not doing this cheap, for lack of a better word. So what is that like for you? Because I think people now are going to know your name even more so because of this. This is a big project. It's probably one of your biggest that you've ever done.
Something I hope just to get you know, more engagement before the Cowboy Bebop stuff, or simply people who appreciate my work and stuff. So obviously I feel a lot of pressure about it, and I felt a lot of pressure when they asked me, because when I started to work on these covers, I was not I have no idea. I had no idea what the series was about, if it may be good or not. I didn't know anything, so I was also a bit of afraid to put my name and my efforts and my stuff on something that maybe people wouldn't like in the end. So it was like, okay, just like finger crossed, get finger crossed that all this cowboy stuff by Netflix is gonna be good. And yeah, as I say, I started to watch the series on Netflix, and I have to say that I was afraid at the beginning, but I think that Netflix made actually a good job. I mean, I think that all the Cowboy Bebop mood, and you know, also some visual references are very good and very anime related, and maybe characters are a bit different from the anime ones, but I think that they made a good job. I really like Faye Valentine. I really like Jack Black. I really like Spike Spiegel. Maybe the one I like the most are Faye and Jet in this moment. The ones I like, I think they may be a bit too much. Are actually Vicious and Julia. But yeah, I'm actually enjoying the show. So I'm more you know, relieved and happy I made discoveries on these projects. I know that probably not everybody will like the series, but you know, when they do this kind of thing, I mean the reboot and remakes, this doesn't mean that the previous stuff is some way cancelled or not important. You can still enjoy the stuff, the old stuff, and if you don't like the new stuff, it's okay. Just don't watch it.
And it's also, I would imagine, nice for you where Netflix is obviously behind this as well, where this is a growing, very valuable IP at the moment. And that's something that is also very helpful where, you know, you stepped up and you knocked it out of the park in a lot of ways. And, you know, and this is something that I think a lot of artists don't understand is that this adds value to what you have done now. And it adds value to your art style and what you're doing. Not that you needed it and you didn't need the recognition, but it also, now that you worked on this project and obviously we're getting 4 or 5 covers out of this, you know, it's something that I think that it's like, oh, you know, now you're part of this and now you've done covers that are canon to the Netflix side of things. And those covers are what people want. I mean, I bought 2 sets of this stuff and I make no qualms about it. I legitimately just bought off of Santorn Comics up in Michigan because I couldn't get it from my local shop because it's sold out. And I'm happy to. And I just dropped another $60 on 2 variant covers that were just announced. So obviously I'm very bullish on this stuff. And my goal is that I'm probably going to get one of these or a bunch of these CGC'd and signed by people when you know, who's worked on it. And it's a personal book in a lot of ways. So it's something very, very cool that I fully understand that it's a big deal. And I think that just even being part of it is awesome. And I think that while you were killing it with Doctor Who and the Millennium Saga and the Sherlock Holmes stuff and even Assassin's Creed, I think a lot more people are now going to know who you are exactly because Netflix is a big platform, and then that naturally goes down into comics, and people who are anime fans are saying, wait, Cowboy Bebop has a comic? Since when? Let me go pick this book up. And I have friends who are not comic readers who are like, I'm going to go read this book now. And so it's very interesting that I think that a lot of people who didn't know who you are about to find out exactly who you are. And not that you needed it, but this is very much, I think, a breaking moment for you. In a lot of ways.
I have to say that sometimes I forget how much effort I put on my stuff, and I think, you know, it's like I think it's everything I do is useless. It's not important. But then sometimes I receive people who maybe they make photos of themselves. We are trying to reproduce my covers with the characters I paint, or the time that Peter Capaldi was on a comic book shop and got one of my covers on his side and he posing the same pose of my covers. I was like, oh my god, yes. I don't know, it's something I really can explain with words,
So,
but
well, what is that like? Because I've done that with, you know, I've gotten commissions, and I'm a huge Elias Chazus fan, and I sort of produced something that people have emulated, where I told Chazus to do, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do on a commission, where it was like a busted girl of one of his things that he did called Firefighter Sexy Samantha. And I know people who have tried and have copied that exact style. And like, I'm looking at Chazus and Chazus, yeah, and I shot him a bunch of things. Like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I thought it was awesome that people wanted to copy, you know, the commission I booked. And he was nervous doing the commission, which I thought was really, really funny. Because I wasn't nervous. I'm like, hey, dude, you're gonna knock it out of the park. I'm not an artist, and no worries, man. I'm more than happy, you know, whatever you produce is going to be fine. But what is that like for you, where there's obviously people who are wanting to copy what you're doing and copy your style and really recreate your covers, because copying is the ultimate form of flattery, I feel.
yeah, I wouldn't call them copies, just fun work. I mean, it's just fun art. In this case, they were just fan art. Um, I got some people who try to steal my ideas, and then sometimes I have some colleagues or some fans who send me stuff and tell me, okay, did this this artist, it's a copycat. You can see, he's trying to. I mean, people. How can I say? People actually tracing your work and then pretending they are. They're making art from.
I know that. I've had people legitly take questions straight out of interviews I've done, word for word. It is crazy, and I'm like,
this is actually the bad part. But when I see people who kind of try to, it's a tribute. It's an homage to my stuff, and I am more than happy when I see the stuff. I mean, there's no. There's nothing bad about it. I mean, I really love it. It's like it's like okay, it's like a moment when I realize I exist in some way. It's a bit weird.
It's affirmation, and it's understanding that you're doing something that people find value in, and it's kind of like when people legitimately have taken half of my interview and re-asked the questions that I've asked almost word for word. I'm like, well, I must be doing something right, even though I don't feel like I'm doing something right. I'm getting confirmation that what I'm doing, who I'm interviewing, why people are interested in them. People legitly 2 weeks later take a good percentage of my interview. It's like they realize that what I'm going and how I'm conducting, that happens. Last year, I'll give a really good example so that people understand, is that there were about 15 people I interviewed who then all started a show within 6 weeks of being on my show, doing something extremely similar, about 80% similar to what I was doing. Only 2 of them are still around because it's really hard to do what I wanted, but they legitimately copied the style because they wanted to do what I was doing. And, well, it's not so easy to do what I do. I've been doing this for almost 10 years. Not to reconfirm myself or drop my ego down, but it's the idea, though, that I recognize saying, man, people must say this guy's been doing it in such a way that I want to copy it. And I'm flattered, and I'm also a little bit annoyed at the same time. I'm not going to lie. Because
I can understand. There's some people who, fake something and try to be flattering, but they are annoying and not flattering at all.
I like competition, but I don't appreciate complete stealing from me. I don't care if somebody takes 20% or 30 or 40% or even builds on what I'm doing, but I don't like when somebody takes half my interview and then just asks the exact same question. I'm like, why?
I think that it's pretty much normal when some people want to start a career on the art field or comic books, or illustration or whatever. It's pretty normal that in the beginning, if it's normal to follow your favorite artist, to copy your favorite artist, because when you copy, you actually learn by yourself how to become a professional in some way. So it's sometimes when I see people copying my stuff, I always try to understand if they are maybe younger than me, or people who are wannabes in some way. And it's normal if you like someone's work, if you want to reproduce it because it's for you. I don't know how to say it, but the problem is when if you do it for yourself, and it's for study, it's for exercise and stuff like that. It's good. You have to do it. I actually suggest to do it, but when you put them online and pretend they are your work, and this is becoming not that good.
It becomes very much, I don't know if it's full on plagiarism, per se, but it's definitely going
No,
into
that, yeah.
I don't want to throw down a complete legal word where I think someone says, hey, I was practicing and I just traced this, comic book cover. I don't think that's good either. But I think at least if you openly say, hey, I was just doing this, or if you drew a mock-up of something and said, hey, this is, I'll give an example. J. Scott Campbell did the 607 cover or the 601 cover, and people were just doing their versions of it. And somebody did it in new school style. Like that to me is taking a work and transforming it, where if you did Mary Jane in complete new school style, you cannot say that somebody copied that cover because it's a completely different style. Or if you did it in more like with abstract shapes or something like that, well, you took the concept and you transformed it. Or if somebody says, hey, I just saw, Claudia's Cowboy Bebop cover and I want to do Spike Spiegel, but you completely sort of do it in your style, but you make Spike Spiegel walking on his hands upside down, where that is a complete transformation of the work versus, and that's very different than tracing and saying, I did this cover, guys, I'm good, Or if I made a Lego version of your cover, for instance, because I'm a big Lego builder and I design things digitally, that's very different than me going out and tracing it. And if I traced it, I'm going to be the first person. It wouldn't look anything like your work. I can't trace that good. I'm making that crystal clear. So you will not see a tracing from me. I'm going to put it that way. But it's the idea that I don't know if it's plagiarism exactly. And I'm not sure what the word is because it gets tricky, but it's not good.
Yeah, it's because I think it's not it's a very thin line. It's you can really do just up or the line and it's everything confused and
the way I say it is that you have 1 foot over and 1 foot not over, and that you're in the center of the line, and that you're half and half, and it gets tricky. And I don't want to drop any legal or be approving or condemning or condoning. I don't want to go into that territory because I don't think it's good. But I also don't want to discourage people from practicing and studying and things like that. And that's why I'm very much struggling at the moment with this, because I don't like stealing of people's IPs or their artwork or anything like that. And there's other problems that ensue with this too, that obviously I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to go tell you what that could be. Just don't steal people's works or their IPs and you'll be fine. That's all I'm going to say on that point, because there are serious consequences for that. But enough about that, because I want to be more positive, and I have a dog with me, and she is not happy about people stealing IPs. She will come after you if you steal IPs. So having said all that, though, obviously I'm stoked. I bought 2 copies of your book, and for issues 1, 2, and 3. And if we get issues 4 and 5, I will also be buying 2 copies. And I have foregoed and built that into my comic budget for the next few months purposely, because I am super excited. I didn't even know they connected. It didn't even occur to me until you pointed it out. This is how much I'm paying attention to everything at the moment. Until you pointed it out, I didn't know. So
I may say that there's also some Easter eggs inside the covers. I want to know if people may get it.
Oh man!
Probably you can get it when you got them all together, when they're linked all together, and you can see the whole thing. Maybe you can get it, but it's something very, very subtle.
I mean, we have the words in there, and then we obviously have the gun in there, and then so we have like a ship in there, and we have something else in there too up top, and we have something like what looks like a teacup, and so obviously I'm not too sure, but there might be something on the bottom next to Jet, but I don't think it's the words, because the word is pretty, basic in that regard. So obviously,
it's if you see all the background.
I'm sure you'll tell me off air. You'll tell me off air what it is, because I'm not gonna. I'm extremely lazy, and now I really want to know. But I don't want to for everybody.
You want me to spoil it? You want me to spoil it?
No, I don't want you to spoil it on air.
Oh, okay.
I want people to actually go out and buy this stuff.
Okay.
I think it's very, very important that people actually go out and buy these books. And I bought 2 whole sets, guys. And I bought them for issues 1, 2, and 3. And I recommend you at least buy 1 set, because I think, that there's real money in this book, both on a production level. And I think that in a year, 2 years, or 3 years, these books are going to be going for a lot more on eBay. So that's my thought process on the entire Cowboy Bebop stuff. And I think these books are hard to find right now. And I think that, there's going to be a second printing of the first issue. I really do. And I think it's coming. And I think that second printing is going to be worth money too. So I recommend that if you're watching today or tomorrow, go to your comic shop and pray they got it, because I got a feeling issue 1's going to be sold out sooner rather than later. Which is a good problem. So enough about Cowboy Bebop, which is what I'm super stoked for. But I do want to back out of things, and I am curious about 2 things with you. And obviously, I'm in the United States, and I'm curious what COVID looks like in Italy, because obviously in the U.S. we don't hear much about Italy. We hear a lot about China. We hear a lot about Canada. We hear a lot about the UK, but I don't know what COVID looks like, and I don't know how it affects comics per se in Italy, and I'm very curious. And you don't have to go into massive detail, but the basic.
I mean, at the very beginning of the pandemic, we were in the center of the world, because actually the disease spread in Italy quite a lot. But in this moment, we are, I think, one of the most vaccinated country in the world. We have, in this moment, we obviously have the contagion is rising in some way, but it's still under control. I mean, we have no pressure on hospitals and stuff like that. This is a very, very bad disease. I mean, I think every one of us knows someone who got COVID, and someone lost parents, someone lost friends, and it's very, very bad. All said and done, I mean, this year I will be able to come back in the US to actually have my sister living in the US. So I will be able to come back after 2 years. And I'm very happy because I have my vaccine done. I have everything done to travel at the safest as possible. And yes, it was very, I have to say, working mostly for the US and the UK. I always work, I always do the smart working. I mean, I work from not from home. Actually, I work in a studio. It's the Beverage Studio. With other colleagues. Obviously, during the COVID-19 first spread and first lockdown, I have to stay at home, so it was very hard to get another routine on my days, because I have my routine was to get prepared.
I know exactly what you're going through. My routine's stuff too, so I get it.
Yeah, it was very, very hard because we have very long lockdown. Actually, we have 2 or 3 months of complete lockdown. We have the past Christmas I wasn't able to get to my parents' home because of the lockdown and restriction and stuff. So it was very, very painful. I lost my father in August, and so I was very sad. I couldn't get the at least my last Christmas with my parents because of the pandemic. So it was very, very hard. It was very bad. But I think we can do it. We can go through it if we keep on following the WHO, which is kind of nice. They are the WHO organization because they're doctors at the.
Oh, I see what you did. You just
Yeah,
did a joke there. See,
got the
you did
fun.
a joke. I got that joke.
It's bad. It's a bad joke too, but it's okay.
Oh, that was a good joke. I appreciate that joke. I have a very, very dark sense of
Yeah.
humor.
So
My mind is very dark, and my humor is extremely dark. So
yeah,
I
I know.
appreciate
I
that
really
joke.
like dark humor too, so it's my stuff too, and it's my yes, obviously my cup of tea,
And,
and
and so obviously there's a lot of stuff going on in
yeah,
that, and obviously you come to the States. I'm gonna tell you to do something off air that'll be
yeah. I mean,
appreciated across the
I
board.
used to get to the New York Comic Con. I don't want to say every year because it's it's a bit of an expensive travel for me, but I try to at least to do it every 2 years. Even if the last years I went to New York almost on every October.
One of the things is that it was not the best year to go to New York this year because it was New York light.
Yeah,
So going to New York next year or even the year after, it will be better. But obviously, I have a feeling it's going to be New York light next year too. And the rationale for those who don't know, it's all over the U.S. and the White House basically made a comment about Anime NYC, which is an anime convention in November. Omicron, there was a virus that broke out.
yeah,
Apparently, he had it. And I said something was going to happen at Anime NYC back in August. Nobody took me serious, and there were people shooting me when that press conference went down. I'm like, you were right, man. And so, obviously, moving forward, now I think everybody's relatively fine from the Omicron thing at the moment. That doesn't mean we should take it lightly, but it's the idea that that is a concern. And when you have 30, 40,000 people around, you don't want that at your con. It's not a good thing for your con. It's not the best marketing. So obviously, I have a feeling there's going to be New York Comic Con light next year, and I'm very bullish on that position. But and I think it's a good thing. I think that it is. We should take it very, very conservatively. And I think that if we do New York Comic Con light for a year or two more, just in case, and I tend to want to reopen things, and I tend to think
yeah,
that we should go full in, and I think that we're being overly safe, but I would rather be overly safe than not. I mean, I have a friend who spent a while on a ventilator, and obviously I'm participating in a charity auction for him, and I've donated some stuff of mine for that, such as ad space. And so obviously I'm well aware of the consequences of all this stuff. I've been very lucky that I got vaccinated. I haven't had anything, but I've also been very, very precautious because I have a physical disability that I know COVID will legitimately put me into a very bad position. And so I'm smart enough to know that in circumstance, I don't really want to do anything. And I'm lucky that I get to work from home and I get to do this from home, where I built a business that is completely digitalization 2.0.
yeah.
So that's where I'm at. And I'm actually profitable for the first time in 9 years with what I'm doing this year. So it's kind of a crazy entity. So I talk about a bad position to be in and being profitable in it. And I don't want to go back. That's all I'm going to say is that I want things to reopen, but my business model is not gonna.
Yes, I know, I can understand. But you know, it's when you know, we as a humanity, we I think these last 2 years they've been very hard, and I think we need to recover some of our sociality, and we need to meet each other again. I think in the comic book industry, it's very important. Comic cons and fairs and stuff like that are very important, because it's important, in my opinion, that fans could meet the creator and see that there are people behind the
I
books
think
they read, the video games they play, the
I
cinema they
agree.
watch and stuff. It's
I mean,
very
I go back to the argument where there's been loss of civility. So I've gotten attacked a lot more on things that were should not have been attacked on because people forgot that there's a human being on the other side
yeah
of me, you know, and you know, this is one of the things that I think people need to understand is that, you know, you wouldn't say that stuff to me in person, you know, so why are you saying it to me online? And do you really think that I'm also a fighter online and I will drag out something on Facebook purposely and it will have 500 comments, and there's a reason why people don't start fights with me anymore. It's because they know it's going to be a war. And I think a lot of people, and also I don't engage as much as I used to with people, but I got attacked in the last, you know, few months, probably a lot more than I should have been. And I think people forget that there's another human out there. And, you know, I think it's a whole big thing, and this is a whole big complicated discussion.
I
But
think
I
actually that
think that people and comic artists and writers and fans need to see each other. And I think, you know, on the flip side, I think, you know, writers and artists need to see their fans and need to see if their fans are thrilled or not thrilled, and need to say, wait a second, you know, this is what my fan looks like. This is how much money my fan actually has in their wallet when they pay me. Maybe my prices are not normal. Maybe they're out of normal, you know, and that I think that needs to happen too a little bit. And I also think, you know, it's very interesting, but, you know, that's a whole big discussion. And I have plenty of those with enough people that I think, you know, it's very interesting. And I think that we don't see people for 22 months and you don't engage with your fans in person for 22 months or 2 years. You know, I think that it's one of those things where, you know, you need to realign for a few minutes or so. And I think, you know, hopefully Comic Cons will come back and that'll happen. And hopefully people in the comic community will be, you know, generous when this stuff comes back a lot better. But, you know, that's a big ask, I feel. But again, that's my opinion. And that's not anybody else's opinion but mine. So on that note, though, we've been speaking for a while, almost 2 hours.
yeah
So
yes
so
it's a long time. Yes.
I don't want to keep keeping your boyfriend out from his desk.
Uh,
So
you actually, you know, it's in Italy, 8 o'clock when we actually started this live. It's like the dinner time, so still have to get my dinner.
I have one more question, and
Yes.
this is arguably the most important question, is that obviously I want to give you a chance to self-promote yourself. So where can people find you on social media,
Yeah.
engage with you, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you know,
Uh,
buy
yeah.
your work, you know,
Yes.
website, all that stuff.
I, I,
ArtStation,
I am mostly active on Instagram at the moment. Is the most the social I use the most. I also am on Facebook, but I really don't like Facebook. I really don't like Facebook. I am also on Twitter, but I'm not able to use Twitter. I don't know why, but I'm terrible with Twitter. So I just remember sometimes I have also Twitter, and I remember to post something on it there too, but I am not very um, good there. As I mean, I'm not very active on Twitter. And let me think. Yes, it's pretty much. I have a profile on our station and Behance, but yes, I think for the moment I suggest to follow me on Instagram. I have my art profile, which is Claudia Ianniciello Artworks. So you can just type my names and artworks and you should find me. Yes, that's pretty much everything about social media. I'm actually I'm not a social media lover, so just what you say before. I mean, people. I think social media is something that people can manage uh, in the right way, and I think that this pandemic even worse the situation. So uh, I have to say I don't like social media very much. I don't like people fight on social media. I don't like flames. I don't like this kind of stuff. I usually don't put myself into them because I think they completely, useless, pointless in some way. That there's no point on fight on internet really. So, but yes, I use Instagram because it's just pictures, and so it's what I do. So it's okay. Instagram, it's okay.
So obviously, and I've been saying this, I'm going to continue to say it, is that you have to support content creators and comic creators and writers, artists. And the way you do that is that you actually buy their work. So
Yeah.
you buy the comics they work on or the properties they worked on. You know, whether you're buying that at your local comic shop, big comic shop, whatever you do. I personally don't care where you get your comics from, but when you go and buy somebody's cover, it goes a long way directly and indirectly. And obviously the Cowboy Bebop cover, which is cover C, you know, if you go out and buy that and that cover does better than every other cover, Titan is going to keep on booking Claudia. And, you know, they're going to book Claudia for more covers. And you're also supporting a small business at the same time and indirectly supporting you. Also, and if you ever do things such as sell original art or sell print or anything like that, or you go to a con, you know, obviously that's another way how to support people as well, where that goes a long way too. And you have to go do that. But even more importantly than that, you know, obviously following people on Twitter, Instagram, engaging with them, liking it, sharing people's artwork out, and sharing this interview out goes a long way because it lets people know that, oh, snap, you know, this person's out there. Or even, you know, shooting someone a message, hey, I really like your cover. You know, when somebody says, hey, I really like your interview, it goes a long way for me. So I appreciate all of that as well, and it's just as important. So I recommend people actually share things out, like things on Instagram, because it goes a long way, and it's just as important as buying it. Or even if you get the Cowboy Bebop cover, and obviously you came today, go on Instagram, take a picture of it, and tag Claudia in your Instagram post, because that also is helpful too, because you don't know who's going to be seeing that. So that's something that everybody needs to do. Also, I'm an indie content creator, so I appreciate everybody who supports my sponsor. Mix'em, if you're producing an indie comic, obviously use my name, Andrew Davis, 5% off. Also, BCW supplies, bags and boards are expensive. 10% off with Pop Anime Comics. So that goes a long way too. And I buy in $500 increments, so that is $50 off. And 50 bucks is not small change anymore. Also, feel free to buy me a coffee. And that's something that's also super cool, where that is another way how to support me, because all the money that I raise from my sponsorships and affiliate links and things of that nature goes right back into this business and keeps me active as long as I possibly can, because there are times where I don't have sponsors, and while running a StreamYard account is not cheap, and all the tools I need. So I appreciate all the support there. And then finally, my friends over at IndieVolt are actually doing something for two people who are battling COVID, have a lot of bills. A few of them are on ventilators for months on end, you know, and are still having very, very negative effects. Obviously, I'm donating ad space to there. So if you'd like to buy an ad on my show, that's all going to one of my friends, Luke Stone and Randy Zimmerman. And I'll be on there later tonight talking about this stuff. So obviously, go do that and support people who in that, and that's free to watch. And Indie Volt and Indie Comic Volt, they're a really cool company and what they're doing. So obviously, you know, it's a big deal there. So anyway, having said all that, and feel free to share this around because I appreciate everybody who does that. And then finally, I'm going to give you the final word.
My final word?
Or phrase. Or phrase.
Let me see. Buy comics. Buy comics book.
That works. And
I wasn't prepared for this. I have no. I'm very bad at this kind of stuff. I don't know. It's maybe I don't know, some catchphrase from Doctor Who or See You Space Cowboys.
Yeah, we could go with that. We could go with that. See You in Space Cowboy. And that's a wrap right there.